Hello, Mavs fans, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I am Kirk Henderson and joined, as always, by fellow editor over at MavsMoneyball.com, Josh Bowe. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. That was we're joining you here. It's about 9:30 on Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving. It's November 27th. The Dallas Mavericks just beat the New York Knicks 129-114 in a game that was sort of as satisfying to watch as any I can think of. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting something, but in a game without Luka, a game against a Knicks team that is third in the Eastern Conference, now that they have they have the same number of losses as the Mavericks, and they're third in the East, LOL Eastern Conference. Just a real nice, sort of thorough ass whooping, and I'm not really sure where to begin because I was pretty pleased with every single person who stepped on the floor.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are pretty good. I mean, their defense is a little iffy, but I think they came in tonight with the second best offense in the league, and the Mavericks held them to 38 points in the first half, and it was over. Like, the second half felt like extended garbage time in a way, which you don't see very often in these kind of games, especially feels like no lead is safe in the NBA with 3-pointers and the pace. But this game was never in doubt. The Mavericks had a double-digit lead in the first quarter, and they maintained it all the way to the final buzzer. Knicks never got it within single digits after the Mavericks pushed their lead to a double-digit lead in the first quarter. So yeah, it was impressive, and then no Luka, but no Klay Thompson, no Daniel Gafford. That's two starters, one of which is your best player, and then your quasi starter, basically six man in Gafford.
Mm-hmm.
They kill. This is a game where if the Mavericks would have lost by 5, we would have been like, wow, undermanned Mavericks.
Performance, right?
Yeah. And instead they dominated an Eastern Conference contender. It's between either this or I think that Nuggets win for most impressive win of the season so far for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of their blowout wins, it's not even comparable. Their other blowout wins were against New Orleans, who's a mash unit right now, and the Spurs and Orlando and Chicago. They thumped a really good team that's a playoff team. Yep. I know it's the East, but they haven't beaten a team this good by this many points yet this season, which isn't an indictment. You don't normally blow out the good teams. So this was really one of the most impressive wins.
Yeah, and I think you said something that's pretty important there, in that they got up to a double-digit lead in the first quarter, and it never became a single-digit lead. Yep. You listen to these NBA podcasts, and I listened to a real long one today. It was the Hoop Collective one that has Tim Bontemps and Brian Windhorst and McMahon are kind of the usual group, and they did a real long show where they brought in people. It was a 3-hour show where they just kind of talked to their friends about basketball. It's really nice. One of the things that Bontemps said at one point that it's true, I've heard it before, but it's always worth hearing again, is that in the modern NBA, a 20-point lead can go away like that.
Right.
And why? And that's because of the sheer volume of 3-point shots that teams are taking. And at one point, and I want to say it was in the third quarter, the Knicks made 3 straight threes to bring the lead down to maybe 14, something like that. And Kidd was pretty quick on the timeout trigger this game, arguably the quickest that I can remember. He put the kibosh on a lot of these Knicks runs by calling something really quickly. And I thought that was really cool. And I just want to sort of reemphasize how impressive it is that they kept the lead at double digits for probably 35 minutes, if not closer to 40 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Quite simply.
Very impressive. And the way they did it, this was probably their most balanced game of the season. 6 players in double figures. Again, they've had 5 or 6, at least 5 players in double figures for 4 straight games. Maybe 5 straight games. I need to take a look at that again. I know it was on the broadcast, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm sure someone in chat will post it while we're talking. But That's impressive. And tonight was like, because they haven't been a good 3-point shooting team this season.
Oh, it'd been like there was somebody pointed out to me just from like the corners how bad they've been. And it's not like they take a lot, in this game, but there was a regression to the mean, a positive regression, whatever you want to call it, game coming for some of these guys. And it's like, I've been looking at the box score. The Mavs shot 57% from the floor. One guy shot under 50%, and that was Jaden Hardy. I guess Kyrie did too, but everybody else shot over 50%. And then you look at the 3-point shooting, that shouldn't strike you. They only shot 33 3-point shots, which, in the modern NBA shooting, that ends up being 33 of 85. It's a shade, it's over 33%, but there's some teams where their shot diet is 50% of their field goals or 3-point shots. And the Mavericks I don't think they're going to be that team. Like they're going to,
they don't need to.
They don't need to. Right. Cause they get to the rim a lot. And some of the guys in this team are masterful from the mid range. We'll get to that, I think, at some point, but I just really satisfying in that regard that the shots were falling.
Yeah, this is what it looks like, because this season's team and last season, they haven't been a good 3-point shooting team. I think they were like at 34% entering tonight. They were 20th in percentage. And the big difference, like we've talked about what it felt like in the first 4 years of the Luka era, and now these last 2 under kind of Nico Harrison and this new vision, is they finally don't need to outshoot their opponents to win games, which is like what it was like for most of like Luka's first 4 seasons. Was if they lost the 3-point battle, they most likely lost the game. And now they've built a roster over the last 18 to 24 months that's the complete opposite, where they don't need 3-pointers to win because they've got defense and they've got paint points. Well, tonight is what happens when you got that team that can win with defense and paint points and makes all their threes. The Mavericks, like you said, they made 17 threes. The Knicks made 7, and the Mavericks still scored 54 points in the paint, which is a good number. Like they had everything going. Like they were dissecting this Knicks team, and I can only imagine what the Tom Thibodeau's blood pressure was, watching this team and not having like a true rim protector, like those Cat as their main rim protector minutes are just. That's tough to watch, even though I know he gets a lot of crap, and I don't know if all of it is fair, but like he's not been good defensively for them. The Mavericks just bullied them. Like it's kind of funny. Like the Knicks aren't really a big, like you think of like last year's Knicks and the Tibbs Knicks. I always think of them as like big and physical, because that's what you think of Thibodeau teams.
A lot of their guys play bigger than they are.
Right, but they're not that big.
Right. So
the Mavericks were bigger than them.
When you run into actual size paired with the bully ball mentality, it stops mattering.
Right. Like PJ, Naji, I mean, even Grimes, Lively, Kleba coming off the bench. Like the Knicks don't really have a backup big man at all right now. So that definitely helps Dallas for sure.
Well, and Karl Anthony Towns is just the biggest sissy. He attacks with his left hand, and he is so skilled. So I want to make something really clear here. I think if he played with more force, he would be a better basketball player, but he is a finesse player at heart, just who he is. I've seen too much of him to think he can be anything other than a finesse guy. He has PJ on him. He has to outweigh PJ by 35 pounds. He just has to. He's got 4 inches on PJ, if not more, and PJ whips his ass. He got the ball at the top of the key numerous times, attacking PJ to the left. And once he got the shoulder dip past him, you would expect a guy with more weight, more size, more height to be able to go up and finish at the rim. And instead, PJ stays connected to his hip, and Towns just faded every single time going to the left. And it wasn't like I don't mean like a Dirk Nowitzki fade, but I mean enough soft of a push to where he wasn't able to finish. It's really amazing watching him play. And I want to give a lot of the credit to PJ here. Don't get me wrong.
He's been awesome.
PJ, like to the point where, and let's just immediately
talk
pivot.
about PJ.
Let's just pivot to PJ. 4th straight game with the double-double for PJ Washington, the longest streak of his professional career with the double-double. I am going to start asking the question. It's game 19. At what point, how long does he need to do this? Like, if he keeps up this level of play, In my opinion, he is an all defensive team level player. Is that ridiculous?
No. I mean, if he keeps this up, he's on first team. If he keeps this up, he's defensive player of the year candidate. If he keeps this up,
so let's just read let's just go through. I'm just gonna be. This is it's Thanksgiving Eve. Let's have some fun here. So he finishes tonight's game with 19, 10, 7 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. He played against the Hawks with 11, 10, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal. He played against Miami, 21 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals. Against Denver, 22 points, 13 boards, 3 steals. Good gracious. He came back against the New Orleans game. The Mavericks beat the crap out of the Pelicans, and he only needed to play 25 minutes. He had 4.6 boards, 2 blocks, and a steal in 25 minutes. Against the Thunder, which was his first real game back. He did come back against San Antonio, but only played 19 minutes. Against Oklahoma City, he had 27-17 with 2 assists. He had 1 block, didn't have any steals. But this is nuts.
Yeah. He's averaging a combined almost 3 steals and blocks per game.
That's Hakeem Olajuwon shit.
Yeah.
Sean Marion level stuff.
Yeah. And in addition to the steals and the blocks, he's making defensive plays routinely. His ability as that help side defender when the center steps up and he has to be the rim defender to rotate over when Lively or Gafford step out to meet a ball handler on a drive, or, they decide to be a little bit more aggressive in the pick and roll. His ability to be that backline defender when the center steps out is invaluable because it's a market difference since he's come back, since he missed the injury, because they lost those 4 games he was out. And since he's been back, they've won 1, 2, 3, 4. They've won 6 of 7 since he came back. They lost the previous 4 when he was out injured for all 4 of those games. He is making the case that he might be the 3rd or even 2nd most important player on the roster right now. And he's when you talk about, can he keep this up? I think what's crucial to talk about this, at least with the score defensively, I think he can, because he was this good defensively at times last season. I think that was a big reason why they went to the finals and why they had that second half run, because his defense was really good. So defensively, I'm not really worried about this holding up because he did it a lot last year. The scoring, this is his best scoring stretch since he's been in Dallas, and his shot has been so iffy. But if you look at it, he's not scoring because he's just getting hot from 3 all of a sudden. He's still shooting, okay from 3. OKC, he was 3 of 4, then 0 of 2 against New Orleans, 0 of 2 against Denver, 1 of 2 Miami, 1 of 3 Atlanta, 3 of 3 tonight against New York. That's not screaming he's just on fire. He's going to regress and he's going to cool off and his scoring is going to go down. He's been doing most of his scoring in the paint and at the rim. And that's what's one, that's encouraging for 2 reasons, because, it's just good to get him consistently scoring. And then it feels like that's more sustainable, the paint stuff. He's not relying on his streaky jumper right now. He is doing some consistent, reliable stuff. And I love what they're doing with him, where these other teams are all right, we're going to put our smallest defender on him to hide our best offensive player so he doesn't have to guard someone difficult. And then PJ's just posting him up right away, or he's bully balling them to the rim. He's playing big boy ball right now, man. I mean, it is impressive all the way through. He did it again tonight.
I'm really delighted in his play. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I want to talk to you real quick about our show's sponsor. A few weeks ago, we were approached by a company called Body Spec. Body Spec is a company that provides what's called a DEXA scan. It's a full body composition scan to help you understand what's going on with your body. Whether you're a parent like Josh and I, somebody with a desk job who is a little concerned about how little movement they're getting, or an athlete, or somebody really thinking about getting back into shape, getting a DEXA scan is a great way to learn more about where you are on your fitness journey. If you could head to the show notes, and it's down there in the comments for the YouTube folks, and click the Body Spec link, you can see what I'm talking about. And guys, if you want to support our show, You can do so by going to this link, signing up, and getting one of these scans. Right now, we're offering a special promo code. If you use the code, and it's all caps, PODMAVS45 at checkout, you'll get $15 off a single scan. With the holidays right around the corner, this is a great gift idea, or it could be something to help you start your New Year's resolution. Body Specs competitors charge as much as $150 for a scan like this. You'll be getting real, usable information for a great price. Again, visit the Body Spec link in the show notes and use PODMAVS45 to get $15 off. I've gotten one already. I think about it like once a day. It's got this little spot inside my head whenever I'm making a bad choice. And Josh is going to be getting one soon, and I'm sure it will also make him feel equally guilty about where he is in life. All right, guys, those of you who've hung around with me this long, I really appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We just passed 3,400 subscribers, which is, I don't know, I like round numbers. I would love to get to 5,000 before season's end. We're about a year and a half into this YouTube business here, and Josh and I are having fun with it, and so much as we can figure out what we're doing. Those of you who are listening to the show on an audio stream, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Leave a review if you haven't. Leave, those comments, the sort of things are helpful, even the mean ones. I really like those. Those who are watching the video later, please consider leaving comments. I really, really love some of the comments that we get. Everybody that most of the comments are very funny or insightful, and I like reading them after the fact. I try to respond to all of them, but I just don't necessarily have the time. Okay, now I'm going to insert some the ads for Blue Wire here. Listen to those too, and we'll be right back to talk about the rest of what we had to see in this game. Okay, I think we have to talk about somebody else, and it's really hard when you see guys play like this, but the other guy who just continues to absolutely baffle me is 26-year-old Naji Marshall. My God. Did the Mavericks, what is going on? He has scored 20 points or more for 4 straight games. What is going on? I never expected something like this.
I was the Naji Marshall fan club, I think, this summer. I was I know. No.
I think 20-point game would be great. 4 of them?
No, I didn't think that at all. This is beyond any reasonable expectation at this point.
Yep.
But it does go to show why there were a lot of fans that were somehow doing victory laps about their Derek Jones Jr. takes 3 games into the season. And it was just bizarre to me. One, it's a short season, but also I don't know why you want to be proven right so early into the season, but hey, I'm not going to knock it there, but yeah, he's been awesome. His scoring is great. I think what we all assumed that he would be a good fit, because defensively you're not losing too much.
Which in his defense, there have been games where it's is he a good defender?
I know. He's been getting better lately.
I think he looks in better shape than he was 20 games ago.
He definitely does. He definitely does. But yeah, the scoring is just we knew that he had a good handle and we knew that he could pass a little bit better. So that stuff is not surprising, but yeah, just the aggressiveness and the just asserting his will sort of, and almost becoming a go-to scorer with Luka Doncic out. He is scoring critical buckets in the fourth quarter off the dribble on his own in isolation situations. That's not I just imagine he would just mostly be feeding off the space created by Luka and Kyrie and using that to dribble and get his way to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, he's doing that too, but he's also doing that without Kyrie or Luka on the floor.
Yep.
He's just here, Naji, take the ball and get to the rim, score us a bucket because we're in a slump. We need you to bust us out of it, and he does, and it's crazy. In the last 4 games, I got to say this: 2, 4. He's made 10 3-pointers in the last 4 games. He made 4 3-pointers total in the first 15.
Yep. And him and Grimes are kind of a special pairing for me. I don't have any data in front of me, but I just like when the two of them are operating on offense together, because both of them are much more willing passers than I understood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, if Kyrie isn't even involved in the motions, they're still getting great looks together. And it's just really fun to watch. I can't, I think there's an argument to be made that you go look at Naji's minutes kind of over the year. It's like he's played about the same number of minutes just about every game. There's some where it's spiked, and you can see that, it was earlier in November, but it's like he was playing, he's averaging 24 minutes on the year, but there are plenty of games where he's playing like 15 to 20 in the early part of the year. And he's just making an argument for more time. And this sort of problem is the exact thing that we had hoped for in the preseason, where he's saying, and Kitts talked about this. He's like, Luka, he said this apparently to the sideline reporter that, the person who he expects most to benefit from Luka's absence is Luka Doncic, in that hopefully watching these guys play, he will have a better understanding of how to utilize them and I want to circle back more to Luka, but and we'll do that kind of to close the podcast, but just watching the way Grimes attacks, Dallas just hasn't had a guy like this. Somebody in the chat said he reminds him of peak Josh Howard. And I'll tell you what, guys, Josh Howard shot a shit ton of 15-footers that never went in. That never went in. He reminds me of like first and second year Josh Howard, who was a bucket getter from like 6 to 8 feet and was doing a lot of the difficult, dirty work. I love watching him play basketball.
What do you think Naji Marshall is shooting on in the paint, non-restricted area shots this season?
So what's the distance there? Give me an idea, like kind of like 4 to 10 feet.
Yeah, so from the restricted area line to the free throw line. Yeah, so about 4
I would
10 feet.
So like a Luka Doncic / Giannis Antetokounmpo, like 75%.
Not that great, but
it feels like everything he shoots goes down.
It's 58.2%, which is still really good.
Oh, yeah. Those are shots defenses give. Like,
yes.
That's
the league average is 42%. He's in 58% in that range. He was 4 or 6 tonight, so that number is actually going to go up a smidge because I don't have the numbers included for tonight for the season. But yeah, he's shooting 58% in the paint, non-restricted area, 71% at the rim, restricted area, which is also like a really good number. He's 100% for mid range, but he's only taken 4, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he's just like, that's why you acquire, like, that is where the NBA is going. As we saw, you look at what Boston did in the finals and what they're still doing now. And when you're like, okay, well, what are the Mavericks? Because the Mavericks were really good. They made the finals. Like, it's like, well, what do we do? Because this team was really good. We made the finals and we ran into a historically great team. Like, how do you improve enough on the margins to match a historically great team when you already feel like you have as good a team as the Mavericks did last year? And it's just keep weaning yourself off of spot up players that are spot up reliant and that can do a little bit more with the ball in their hands. Because Boston shoots a ton of threes, and I get it, but also most five or their top 6 guys can't just shoot threes, but can also take guys off the dribble and make a move, whether that's a scoring play or a passing play, like Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis can score in the paint and in the post. Like, they do shoot a lot of threes, but what makes them so deadly is that they don't just have a bunch of spot up guys that you can run off the line, and then you're like, oh shit, what next? Like, all of those guys have a plan B if you run them off the line, which not a lot of NBA teams have. It's like you either have a lot of guys that can't shoot but can score at the rim, or you have a bunch of guys that can shoot threes, but then you pressure them at the 3-point line and the offense craters a little bit. And that's why the Celtics are so dominant, because they have guys that can do. They have like 5 guys that can do both. I mean, the Mavericks are starting to get to that point where they're looking like they have 5 guys that could do both if Naji's hitting his threes. Like, it's just maybe not Celtics level just yet. Obviously I don't want to, speak hyperbole. The team is still 11-8. We haven't even gotten to Christmas Day yet, but like, I mean, you're seeing the vision of this roster right now. Like, this is exactly what they intended, and it's why they look so great right now.
It's pretty funny. We're roughly 25 minutes into the podcast, and we've yet to bring up the stalwart Kyrie Irving. He had 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, only 1 turnover, which, considering how much he handled the ball, is pretty remarkable. The only thing you could say about his night that would be detrimental is he was really wanting some 3-point shots to go down that just wouldn't. And he finally got one to go down at a pretty key moment when the Knicks were making a run. It was either late in the third or early in the fourth. And again, it's hard to talk about him without repeating yourself. I mean, he shot no free throws tonight, which was some bullshit. But also was just an assassin on shots that did go down, where watching him play has got to be so disheartening if you're an opposing team, because it's like he'll miss an easy shot, and then he'll come down and hit just a stop and pop pull-ups, 17-footer with a guy draped on him, where it's just like, you can't do anything about that. It's been such an education watching him play, in that, if you didn't watch him play regularly, and I'm not going to act like I did between, I watched that 2014 Worlds team that he was on, which was like, he was unbelievable in that FIBA run. And then obviously I watched a fair amount of the Cleveland team that won in 16. But then, after that, his career was a little goofy for a while. It's okay to say that. And watching him be somehow even better in elements of this has been real fun. And I hope we can get the guy some rest at a certain point. He logged 35 minutes, like 35 hard minutes tonight. I was
played that back to back too, which you could tell like he was. I mean, I'm not trying to be cliche, but he really was kind of leaving it all on the floor in those games, Miami and Atlanta. I know I didn't get to talk about the Atlanta game with you, but catching the glimpses I was able to and hearing some on the radio as I was driving back and forth from what I was doing that night, it sounded like he was dog tired. Like he probably shouldn't have played that game, but he did, and he was awesome. He led them to a win. He probably needs a rest day soon. But his shooting is just, it's a continuation of last season and a continuation from after the trade deadline. He is putting up career high numbers in true shooting percentage since he's been in Dallas. Like the highest shooting marks of his career are happening right now. When you would think smaller guards typically don't age well, and he's having his best offensive seasons of his career right now. When you consider how good of a shooter, like for a guy who's been known as a great shooter scorer his whole career, that he's having career high shooting numbers now is just the testament to the roster that they built. That's like, yes, they're letting Kyrie be great. And it's also a testament to Kyrie for keeping himself in shape and keeping himself ready and kind of rebounding from obviously where his career kind of got off the railroad tracks, which is maybe even putting it lightly. Cause when he was traded here, we were both like, we could see this working, why this would work, but also like this has to work or the team is doomed. And not only has it worked, it's been incredible. It's been better than I think even the most optimistic of people. Again, it's kind of like the Naji thing. Like I think even the most optimistic people at the time of the Kyrie trade probably wouldn't have said he's going to put up his best shooting numbers ever. Yeah. I mean, maybe because, you put the Luka effect, which is helping a lot, but yeah, it's been A+ all the way around, and he was good again tonight.
I mentioned PJ, question about the all defensive team element. I think Kyrie is going to make an all-star team again. And he came into the Mavericks right before the trade deadline, and he and Luka were both Mavericks on the all-star team, but he kind of had that Brooklyn Nets bump. I wouldn't be shocked if he makes it again this year. I really wouldn't. No. And I mean it in a way to where it's like with the state, because there's both fan vote, media vote, and player vote, and Kyrie's just got to be making. He already has his peers in a certain level of awe, and it's just he's kept him and PJ have kept the Mavericks afloat for these first 19 games. It's really something.
Kirk, I don't even know if All-Star, I agree with you. I don't know how, but I think that's almost starting to become maybe a lock for him. The thing that I think the tastier question is he going to make an All-NBA team at this rate? Because
That's an interesting question.
I'm looking at his numbers, and he's made all NBA team 3 times. The first time in Cleveland, and he's dwarfing the numbers from that season. But obviously, it was a different league back in 2015. He made it his second season in Boston, and he's doing better. Numbers are better there, scoring higher, his shooting percentage is significantly higher. And then the last time he made it was his second season in Brooklyn. He's not scoring as much. He was about 27 a game in that season. But again, his shooting percentages are crazy high, and his scoring is not that far off in terms of output. Like, he's averaging 24 a game on 50 from the floor, 47% from 3. He's shooting 53% on 2s, 47% on 3s. His true shooting percentage is 63, which is the highest of his career by 20 percentage points. His previous career high was 61, and now he's at 63. Not 20 percentage points. What am I saying there? Yeah, like 20 percentage points or whatever it is. I can't do math, but it's high. It's well above a career high. Now, obviously, it's early. His injury history. Is he going to play? No, is he going to play 65 games to qualify? That's.
I mean, he's on pace.
I know he is. But last year he was on pace too, and then he, freaking, Dwight Powell landed on his legs, like not even his fault.
That was last year.
I know, right? That wasn't even his fault. So I don't know. It's going to be harder because now that there's no positions, it makes it significantly harder now because, used to be you had to have 2 guards on each team, and now you can have 1 guard on each team, or you can have no guards on the team, really, if so there's a lot of good guards in the NBA, but if the Mavericks can finish, again, this goes back to what we're saying, they can get into the top 4, maybe even top 3, and they've still got a lot of work to do because the Western Conference is once again the most ridiculous conference in the NBA. You're going to have to look at him for this. If he can finish the season how he's shooting right now, and he can play 65 games, they can win 52, 53, 54 games. Like, I don't think all NBA third team or even second team is crazy.
Well, and again, it's pretty ridiculous. And Josh and I know this. We hate MVP talk, but it just I want to put those sort of thoughts out there for frankly, for narrative reasons, because the narrative has to matter. And if the Mavericks are going to keep kind of bopping along, and hopefully they'll make a run in the next month where they actually win, let's just say 8 out of 10 games. I mean, they've won 4 out of their last 5, so I suppose you could say the run's already started. There's something there for them. All right, so we briefly touched on Grimes. He has now bumped his season 3-point shooting percentage up to 40% even, with 4 out of 8 makes tonight, which was pretty impressive. The last guy, Spencer Dinwiddie, just a second straight simply masterful game, if I'm being honest. I quite, I said the thing. It's on recording. I asked openly whether they should cut him after the Heat game, and I wasn't being sarcastic. Like, I thought he was that much of a negative. And so for him to have 2 follow-up performances resulting in wins, and he was just outstanding. He was really orchestrating the offense. 9 assists for a bench guard is tough. What did you think of his play?
I thought it was really good. Reminded me a lot of the Dinwiddie we saw when he got first traded to Dallas, where he just I don't know what it is about Dallas and him making threes. You look at his career and you just look, he's played a lot. Like, he has been around. He's 31 years old. He's played, this is his, he's at least played at least 10 or more seasons. I don't have the number right in front of me. But you just look at his career numbers from 3. It's just like 32, 33, 30, 28, 31. Then you go to Dallas, 40, then 28, 32.
And tell me if I'm reading too much into this. I thought that tonight in particular, the shot, and on Monday's game as well, the type of shots he was taking were balanced and not necessarily herky-jerky pull-ups off the dribble at the end of the shot clock. Like, he drilled one in the corner, which was a crazy shot, but with somebody draped over him. But as an NBA player, that watching these guys shoot when they have their balance with them, it just changes the way the shot goes for most shooters. And I feel like the kind of shots he was taking these past two games were better quality shots than the heaves he was getting up against the Heat. I could be wrong.
No, I think so. He got less hand grenades in the last two games.
Yes.
I feel like the Heat game, he got a lot.
He did. He probably, so he was 1 of 12 in the Heat game, and I think at least 4 of his shots were like, here, you do something.
Right. So yeah, I think better shots for sure. All part of Jason Kidd's master plan, Kirk. That's why he played him in that Miami game. He instilled confidence in him.
Well, there's nobody else to play because the only other guy that he could throw out there right now is Jaden Hardy, who, he finished with like one of the best team plus minuses. But if you watched him play, you were probably like pissy with him because like he was 1 of 5 from the floor. He had a couple of good drives, which the floaters nearly went. And then Jalen Brunson kicked his ass. But I actually thought he battled Brunson really hard. It's just, why is Jaden Hardy guarding Jalen Brunson? That's not fair to Brunson.
I know, and then you look at just what they have to. You're right. That then it's like, who do you play? Like
you got to.
Who do you put him on? Yeah, it's just you have to kind of grin and bear it.
And I actually I think that Hardy's man defense this year has actually been pretty good. His challenge is he gets lost in space when he's ball watching a lot of the time off ball. So, yeah, it's right. You're right, Drew. He only hit the 1-3 at the end of the game. So he's basically 0 for 4 for the entire game until he hit that 3, but that is what it is.
The one more thing about Dinwiddie, you mentioned it earlier, the passing from him has been really great.
Really good.
Last 4 games, 9 assists tonight against New York, 4 assists against Atlanta, 7 assists against Miami, 4 assists against Denver. He's got 3 turnovers total in those 4 games also. And he was like averaging like an assist or 2 per game before these last 4 games. So I don't know if it's more guys hitting shots off his pat. Like I would almost want to rewatch it because like, let's be real. Like the dirty secret about the NBA is that assist scorekeeping is kind of out of control. Like if you want to see some funny shit, like go to the NBA.com video box score and click on a player who has 12 assists and click the assists. And watch all of them, and you'll see at least 5 of them that are like
multi-dribble.
Yeah. So I don't know how many of them are like true blood assists here, but still they count in the box score. And he's been playing much better, and maybe he's just getting a little bit more comfortable. Like I think we're just seeing too, like they didn't have a real preseason because Luka was hurt in the preseason,
and they don't take the preseason seriously. None of these teams do.
Yeah. So like. I think you're just seeing the results of like they had way more roster turnover this season than I think we maybe should have emphasized. I think they're just gelling now because I think the first two or 3 weeks of the season was kind of like their true preseason in a way. Yeah. And I think we're kind of seeing them gel together because a lot of these guys hadn't played together before.
Sure. And one final shout out to I don't want to mispronounce his, is it Jazz Gortman?
Yeah.
So he drove baseline and threw a wild pass up the middle of the floor that bounced 3 times from the baseline to the top of the key. And it was one of those plays where I was talking about, I was like, oh no, we're never going to see this guy play again. But the Knicks don't notice the pass because it was it was such a bad pass, the Knicks didn't notice it. So it gets all the way to the top of the key. I want to say Grimes has it. Some is either Grimes or Dinwiddie. And anyway, they get the ball back to Gortman in the far right corner, who sinks I think it's his first career 3. At least it was his first 3 that I can remember with the Mavericks. And anyway, really love to see it. I want to shout out that guy just because I appreciate seeing guys play stuff. Yeah. And
can I say though, it is kind of fun. Like this is nothing against him, just box score funniness. He played 2 minutes and made that 3. So he scored 3 points in 2 minutes and was still a minus.
Very impressive. Impressively.
It's not his fault. It's just funny.
Impressively goofy stuff. Okay, I have one final thought that I want to get off before we go.
Is this Luka talk?
Yeah, it is Luka talk. And adjacent to that. And So, as usual, when the Mavericks are playing without Luka, the same cadre of loudmouth internet idiots who don't know basketball decide to start talking about how the Mavericks would be better without Luka. I want to talk about that in the spirit in which I think it's intended, to where when you watch the Mavericks play basketball this way, you say, why aren't the Mavericks playing basketball this way with Luka? I want to say, if that's what the core thought here is, that actually is a question that I think Kidd himself was alluding to when talking to that sideline reporter in mentioning that Luka needs to play better, faster, with more intent and less Aaron Rodgers going to the line and changing the play last second to try to get, a 6-yard gain when you need 5 for the first down.
Like, so I didn't see. So this is what Kidd was saying. Like, this is
Kidd said this to the sideline reporter that
I think I missed this part.
He thinks that he hopes that Luka gets the most out of Luka being gone, and that he can better learn how to utilize the tools at his disposal. Luka, there was a guy in here, JB, earlier was sort of quasi trolling. Let's just take him at face value and saying Luka can't play off ball. Luka can play off ball. Luka doesn't want to play off ball. So the thing that needs to happen is everybody needs to get together and figure out how to make these things work. And honestly, it does come back to Luka. If you don't think one of the best basketball players in the multiverse can change his game to help his team win, you're a fucking moron. You just are. Sorry. Now, if you don't think he wants to or will do that, that's a criticism I think is worth pondering. But that he can't do it, come on. He just needs to choose to be a little different. And honestly, it starts and ends,
starting. Too.
It starts and ends with pace for me. When he played with pace last year, the Mavericks were explosive. The Mavericks look explosive right now with the pace. So I'm really interested in what will happen when he comes back, because he's not above criticism. Let's just be clear on that. He's really not. And so if you're winning without him and you're saying, the Mavericks can win without him, over the NBA season, I bet a team like this, just this team structure, remove Luka from the equation entirely, I bet they could win 45 games. I do.
Yeah, because teams don't care enough about it's just a long regular season. You have enough good veterans and players. You can do that. You can totally do that.
But the playoffs are a different beast. And anyone that thinks that Luka wasn't why they got as far as they did in the playoffs last year, that's where I question whether you know ball. All of this stuff can be better optimized. But for the life of me, I don't understand the constant Luka is the problem when you've made the Western Conference Finals and the Finals 2 out of 3 seasons. Of course there's stuff that Luka can do better. But you have to trust in his basketball sense as much as the coaching staff, the GM, and everybody saying, look, man, are we all paddling this ship in the right direction? And I have to believe this because Luka has won everywhere he's went. I hear all this constant praise about the Spurs' Victor Wembanyama and how much he wants to win. Blah, 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 blah. Go look at that guy's Wikipedia page and tell me what the hell he's ever won. Luka Doncic has been a winner everywhere he's gone since he was 13 years old. Doubting Luka is idiotic. So let's give the guy a little bit of grace, let him get back on the court and figure this out. The fact that the Mavericks are winning is a good thing. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. And I think to add to that, like when you're talking about can he do it, he already has started, because before he went out, his time of possession, his touches, and his usage are all down at some of the lowest numbers of his career. Touches and time of possession are the lowest since his rookie season. Usage is lowest since his rookie season. Now, having said all that, his usage is still high.
Right. It's like I said in a group chat, it's like bitching whether Luka is 6'6" versus 6'7". Like his usage is down, but it's like a possession per game.
Right. But honestly, that stuff still matters, and he has played a little bit more off ball, and I think that's contributed to some of his shooting this season, because I think he's adjusting to a little bit without having to have the ball in his hands for an entire possession. And then another combination is, he hasn't been healthy. To me, he hasn't looked healthy one game during the regular season, because he came out he had the calf injury, so he missed all preseason. He starts the regular season, and it looks like he's trying to kind of ramp up because he missed the whole preseason. And then he started picking up the knee injury and a groin injury. Like, I don't feel like we've seen him at full health yet. So that's kind of why, I know it's not good for him to have a wrist injury, but we were talking about before he went out with this wrist injury. We're like, can they just sit him for a week or two so that he can get his legs right? Because he's not going to get, there's a difference. People like to say he likes to play himself into shape, and sure, that makes sense. I don't think you play yourself out of injury though. That's different. It's different. Like the only thing that helps injuries is time off. Like, you need time off. So I don't know if it's a blessing that he hurt his wrist and that's keeping him out, but I think hopefully he's taking advantage of that and getting his legs under him. And I think that'll help a lot when he comes back. Like, I want to see Luka fully healthy and operating within this role where he's using the ball less, because we didn't see good efficiency when he was on the floor with it, because again, learning new role, he's touching the ball less, doesn't get into a rhythm. And I just don't think he's helped. Like, I want to evaluate this from a fair place, because I don't think you can look at the games he's played so far and be like, yeah, that's totally it. That's what he's going to look like, because he's been too hurt for anyone to really say that. So I'm looking forward to him coming back, and hopefully he comes back when he needs to come back, and it's not rushing back, because if you look at the schedule till Christmas, he's got plenty of time left to come back. They've got the time, because the schedule is getting very easy for them for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Last thought before we go, shout out to the announce crew tonight. Mavs announcer Mark Followell stepped in for Mike Breen. We don't know what happened to Mr. Breen. Hope everything's well with him. But he was paired with, gosh, what was the woman's name?
White, new coach of the Indiana Fever.
Okay. And for, there was some weird frustration with her on the internet because she made a comment about Luka's usage, which, like, Followell gently tried to course correct. I just want to say that two people who have never worked together got thrown together for a national TV broadcast. And if you would have told me that was their first time with me knowing nothing about the context, I wouldn't have been able to guess. I thought they were really good together given the limited interaction.
Yeah, I don't even know if they met each other before today. And now they gotta talk on national TV for 2.5 hours. Like,
and they disagreed. They disagreed, and it made it interesting. Yeah. Like there's something to that where it's like they weren't like, I don't know. It wasn't petty. It wasn't petty, but it felt a little like they were coming at it from two different places, which that just made the thing interesting. So yeah, I liked it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna hang out. We're gonna do a Mavs party because why not? Josh is gonna go edit and then go to bed. So, well, you won't go to bed. You never go to bed. You're just like me.
I know.
So hang out here, and I will post the link that you guys can join in the show, and then we will hang out. Josh, thanks so much, man. You have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Yeah, you too, buddy. We'll talk to you. Man, it's gonna be Saturday, right?
Saturday, yeah. Saturday. Yeah, and I got a treat for everybody because we have an extra day off. I'm gonna post a very old podcast in the feed, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. All right, everybody, hang tight. Y'all. We'll be right back. Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Mavs Party, brought to you by Pod Maverick. I'm Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief over in MavsMoneyball.com. I just got done with somehow talking to Josh Bowe for like 45 minutes about a blowout win, but you know what? We should celebrate the wins, and we're going to continue doing that here with our secondary live show where you can be a part of it. I already got 2 folks waiting. For those of you who are kind of unfamiliar or maybe not confident enough with what's going on here, there's a StreamYard link in the YouTube comments, which operates very similar to like a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams call or something like that. You click into it, you can join. You don't have to show your face. You can join by phone. We have fun in here. The other night we talked with my man, Mr. Green in Australia, and we had I don't know what the hell that was in the background. He said it was like an Australian raven or something, and it made the loudest cawing for like 15 minutes until I could ask him what it was. So sorry about that for everyone listening. All right, coming up first is Brian, then we got Michael, and then we have SC waiting. So we're gonna hop to this and hang out here. Brian, what's up, brother?
Hey man. Hey, first of all, how do I sound? This is a new
You sound much better than you did the other night in the other thing where you were kind of fading, where it was like, so
yeah, my old headset, it was getting a little old, so I needed to replace it. So I'm glad this one sounds better. Yeah, man. Just a wire to wire ass kicking. We needed that. We really needed that. Like the streak has been good, but we haven't had one of those all season against like a team that people think are like actually decent.
What's my man Dwight say? It's the belt to ass tour.
Oh yeah, for sure. Belt was definitely applied some ass today, and we needed that because like, and specifically in the way that it happened too, because I've tweeted about this multiple times since like the start of the third quarter. It wasn't just that we won; it was that our wings beat the shit out of their wings, and our wings cost us like a fourth of the money and assets as far as like what the Knicks spent to bring in Bridges and OG and like Josh Hart, years ago. But yeah, no, dude, PJ and Naji and Grimes, actually, because you were talking about PJ for a large portion of the earlier show. Let me just, so in the 6 games since he's been back, right? I tweeted this out. Let me get the numbers in front of me and make sure I have it exactly right, but I'm pretty sure I know it. Since he's come back from injury, he is averaging 17, 11, 3 assists, I want to say, a steal and a block, just over a steal and a block a game, on like 48, 50, 89 shooting, and he's attempting 4.5 free throws a game. Like, he has been unbelievable on both ends. Like I don't see how, like, maybe it doesn't look quite like this, but I don't see how this like really changes even when Luka gets back really good. Like, people are already posting Naji's numbers from the last 4 games, the last 10 games, or whatever it is. So everybody else has that covered. I'm checking in on PJ's numbers. I need to go look up and see what Grimes has been doing since the Denver game, but I'm pretty sure it looks much the same. He's probably somewhere around 13, 14 points a game. And they're so good. Like, I've been telling people since the summer, y'all don't understand how much of an upgrade this is over, and I swear I don't mean to like keep harping and naming guys by name, but like if you think about Josh, Tim, even Derrick Jones Jr., who was really good for us, like replacing those 3 guys with these 3 guys and Clay, who didn't play tonight, it is night and day compared to the team that Boston, quite frankly, didn't have to guard most of the lineup whenever they were on the court in the finals. They were worried about 2 people, and they let everybody else do whatever the fuck they wanted because it did not matter. And this is a team that is built to not allow you to do that anymore. Yeah. And it's exciting.
It's real exciting. It's real exciting. And that's where, so, I think I did. I sort of wanted to tease Kevin Gray the other day when he got real mad at Jason Kidd, where I was like, sitting there going, is that you doing a Kirk impression? Because you don't got the juice, Kevin. You're too sweet of a man to be mad. But I wanted to talk about the Luka thing in a measured way because I want to at least come at it from the context of where people are frustrated with Luka, because I think I think one thing that's very important if you have a super duper star is to not let it devolve into hero worship, into say things that are questioning whether just how everything works, because I just believe in Luka too much. Okay. And that's, and I hope that I came across in that little bit of a let's just call it a soliloquy over a rant. That I think that he's capable of molding his game and still performing at an extremely high level. So I think these guys and this team just fits. I see the pieces fitting. Like, would we have felt like this if they had won 3 of those 4 games instead of losing all of them by a single possession? Would the vibes be different? Would the tone be different? Maybe not. I mean, I would like it. Probably they would, though, because like that's how narratives function. So it's. Do you think do you think that Luka will be able to adapt just so, because again, he's still going to be a ball dominant guy. That's the nature of Luka. But do you think he's still going to be do you think he's capable of adapting and playing in a way like I was babbling about there?
I definitely do. Moreover, I think he's capable of enhancing what it is that they're doing right now, because we saw him adapt last year. We saw him adapt after Kyrie came, like mid-season, try to figure out how to play with him better. We saw him decide, okay, if I am not going to be able to run as fast as these dudes on my team are now, I'm going to get the rebound. I'm going to look for a hit ahead, and I will find you 70 feet down the court if you're willing to run and make yourself a target. And that's how we got Daniel Gafford going early. That's how we got PJ going early when they first got here and got them comfortable. He is willing to try and run. He definitely likes to do his little Sonic the Hedgehog speed boost at midcourt where he looks and probably feels like he's running faster, but he's not actually. But he'll take the ball and he'll run and he'll get up court if he sees other people running. People forget that. Look, man, this dude is like an ultra competitor. He doesn't want to be. He sees 4, 5, 6 people running down the court. He doesn't want to be the last person down the court. If it was within his power, he'd get down there with him. He'd run and throw alley oops and all this. He wants to do all that front running stuff that all these other stars do too, man. Like that. That's the part that kills me. Like, he wants to be a part of this. You see how hard he roots for these guys, even when he's on the bench. He wants to be a part of all of this. So I feel like he is gonna definitely add to what they're trying to do with this methodology of letting the defense start their offense up and getting themselves going in transition. And moreover, what we've seen, even in the midst of this streak, we've seen this team play fast a lot of the game, and some points towards the end of the game, and like when they're trying to close quarters, too fast and get a bit out of control and start turning the ball over and start getting themselves in bad situations where they're fouling.
Kid did a good job tonight of kind of slowing them down when they were getting a little ahead of their skis, I thought.
Yes, he was much better with the timeouts tonight and really bringing them back to the bench to get their heads together when they started losing it. But moments like that, especially at the end of the game when Jalen Brunson, I swear he stat padded with like 10 straight points at the end of the fourth, where it was just we were getting the ball either taken out of the net or getting a rebound, and we were just going. And it's like, dude, there are 2 minutes left in this game. We don't need to be running a fast break. We're up 15. Just run some clock out. And those are moments where you get Luka back, and he is orchestrating those moments a lot better and getting everyone and settled down and in place. And I feel like he's going to bring, instead of just enhancing what it is they're currently doing, he's going to bring balance. We need to balance this pace. I love the pace that they're playing at, but you were talking before about how Kyrie is laying it all out there, and at the games you can see him, and you can see sometimes in games like Quentin Grimes and Naji like holding their knees and heaving in the middle of games because of how fast they're moving. Dude, you're not meant to be able to play like that for 40, 48 minutes. And Luka knows that. Kyrie definitely knows that. We've seen him do his first half gimmick where he's conserving his energy as best he can. And I think Luka definitely helps with that. The pace is going to be able to kick up when it needs to, but he's going to keep us in a good place. He's going to help us keep turnovers down. I don't see, and then like on the other end too, we saw how well he played on defense in the Clippers series, in the back half of the OKC series. I don't understand how you can see how well he played against like really good offensive players in those series, like James Harden and Norm Powell and Paul George and Shea and Jay Will, I guess, but like Chet, even when he was put on him, and say, yeah, there's no way you can make it work defensively with this. That's not true. That's not true. So yeah, I definitely see him coming back and helping this team out a lot. I don't listen to the idiots, man.
Well, we got a packed house. I didn't know this many people were waiting. Thank you for joining us, Brian.
Of course, dude.
All right. Talk soon, man. Have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Yes, sir. You too.
All right. Coming up next is my man, Michael. He's a contributor to Mavs Moneyball, but he hasn't been on this show yet. Michael, what's up, buddy?
What's up, boss? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. What'd you think tonight?
I wanted this one, man. I
Yeah.
was feeling this one. I was looking at this one on Monday, actually, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention here. Something I observed on Monday. But yeah, I don't know what it is about wanting to get these guys every time. I think
because the Knicks have handed the Mavs their ass a lot since the Porzingis trade. It kind of drove me crazy. The 60-point Luka game is kind of an outlier.
Yeah. We've got a little run going here, which I'm happy about, and I really wanted to get this one. I didn't want to think bad thoughts going into Turkey Day. You know what I mean? I got the day off tomorrow. We're gonna get fat on turkey. I was like, I want this win, and we went out and we got it, and it was nice to see.
Right, because there are no other Dallas sporting events tomorrow. There are no other Dallas professional games involving sports. So this was the last one.
This was it. This was our Thanksgiving hurrah here. So it was good. It was good, and I was having a little fun with numbers while Brian was on the main stage there, and I just wanted to share a couple of those.
Please do.
We covered a couple of them. You and Josh covered a couple of them, but just looking at this box score, had PJ hit the one free throw he missed, you'd have had 5 guys, all 5 starters, with 20+ points, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2.
Lively only had 12 points, I think.
Sorry, right. Dinwiddie off the bench that was the other 20 points.
Oh yeah, okay. So 5 20-point scorers. Yeah,
5 20-point scorers. Yep. And I was looking at the box score wrong. You're right. Yeah, Dinwiddie came off the bench to do it, but yeah, I mean 5 20-point scorers.
That's balanced.
And a lot of the talk tonight, obviously, about Luka coming back and how he's going to incorporate and so on and so forth. But man, like Kid said, man, he's got a lot of weapons that you could probably utilize a lot better than maybe we had been up until this point. And that's an exciting thing to see. I looked at that box score and I was like, damn. And I was just wishing, man, I was like, man, PJ, if you went 3 for 3 instead of 2 for 3 from the free throw line, you would have been in the mix, you know? So,
pretty great.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. And the other thing I wanted to mention to you that nobody had talked about coming in, and why would we? I noticed this on Monday, and I looked at this just for the hell of doing it because the Knicks were playing Denver, and anytime East is playing West, I'm basically rooting East, obviously. But this was a puzzling thing, and this was like a Thibodeau thing to me. Okay. I'm looking at their box score now. You had 145 to 118 win for the Knicks.
Yes, and against the Nuggets. Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Nuggets game. Yep. Towns played 34 minutes. Anunoby played 38 minutes. Brunson, 38 minutes. Michael Bridges, 36 minutes. You got these guys on Monday doing basically what we did. You know, you're going to Denver, high altitude. 2 days later, you're traveling to Dallas. Okay, not a bad trip. But in the moment, I was watching it because I was pissed. I was like, oh, man, they're killing them. These guys are all going to be rested, blah, blah, blah. So I actually checked the box score Monday night as the game was going, and I was like, is this really happening? I pulled it up again, and I was like, man, this is – and I think it was a cup game, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of the underlying part. I wish Tyler were here.
Against New York for the Knicks and Nuggets?
Yeah, was it?
No, because they do that by conference. Right? That's just no. The reason it strikes you as being so weird is because it's 2024 and Tom Thibodeau is still doing this stuff.
Right.
Like, what is happening?
And it was what he was notorious for back in Minnesota.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It was almost that Pat Riley mentality, that grinded out mentality. And I don't know. I still can't believe it. I was so thankful it happened. But I was like, man, you're gonna rock these guys close to 40 minutes.
Big fan.
Sounds good to me. In a beatdown like that, it made no sense. It still makes no sense to me, but I don't know if that played any part of it. And Obi himself, dropped 40 in Denver, and then missed how many shots tonight?
Every shot.
Yeah.
Just kept getting worse for him.
So 3 for 15, 0 for 8 for 3.
Mm-hmm. Love to see it.
Yeah. So little beautiful thing. So I'm thankful for Tom Thibodeau for this year. He's on my thankful list. And,
that's right.
My final thought for all the Naji love, I was high on this guy, pretty much when I just started seeing him do the things he's doing. And you were talking with Josh in the main podcast. A lot of people were saying about a Josh Howard comparison. I got him as an Antoine Jameson comparison. And I like what I see. Remember Jameson with those weird little flip shots?
Oh my God,
Jameson,
yes. The way he scored for an entire season, because was he sixth man of the year that year?
He might have been, right?
He was
think
awesome.
He might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. And I remember back then, and I'm it's way too lost in the sands of time now, but I think there was some story he said he, whatever, he grew up shooting at a peach basket kind of thing. Some crazy story he was shooting at a milk crate or whatever it was. And it was either too high or whatever the story was, but he basically said he learned, Jameson that is, learn those crazy push shots and just incorporate it into his game, like, this lifelong thing.
Right.
And when Naji kind of had that breakout a few nights ago, it was like, and whatever, not even like this 20-point scoring streak, but when he started really kind of handling the ball, getting into the paint, doing that, it just reminded me of that. And I needed a venue to say, I was just like, I get that there's a Josh Howard comparison here, but I didn't want to forget our boy Jameson, because it's been a long time since we've had a player doing that kind of thing and doing it consistently. And it's great to see, man. I'm so glad this guy's
take. I like it. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, man.
Hope you have a nice holiday, and obviously I will talk to you because our Mavs Moneyball Slack never stops talking.
You know how it is. Happy Thanksgiving, boss.
Right, have a good one.
Take care.
All right, coming up next is SC. SC, welcome to the show.
Mr. Kirk, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing delightful. It's only 10:30. These 6:30 start times from the Midwest folks. It's actually chaos in my personal life, but then when the game is over, I'm like, oh, it's early. I can still do things and get to bed by a normal hour. So I'm happy.
It balances out the 9 p.m. starts. And the 9 p.m. rip your heart out last 30-second losses.
Which just then I'm up to like 2:30 in the morning, like secretly seething, or really not so secretly because we do these shows now. So
I'm gonna get my spots in, get out. But Falwell, I want to start there. What a wonderful surprise that he was
cool.
on the national broadcast.
It was cool. So I've listened to Falwell for like my whole Mavs life. I feel like him with Bob, because he was with Bob Ortigal way back in the day, and I think over the last several years, he's gotten a lot more Mavs-centric, which is fine, but he's very pro-Mavs. And so to hear him try to call balls and strikes down the middle was a little funny, particularly because there was really nothing for him to say about the Knicks that was good. Like, the Mavs just beat the Knicks so badly that it kind of came out anyways. I loved it.
I quite enjoyed he used "we" a lot describing the Mavs during the thing, and so
which is a huge no-no.
I know he was calling it pretty straight, but like if you didn't know, but then he'd be like, "Well, we have been such and such on the road, and we've been shooting this percentage this year or whatever." And I thought that was nice. And my friends, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of guys who aren't Dallas natives, they're not Mavs fans or whatever. They were watching the game, and I said, "Hey, this guy's the local, the guy who calls the Mavs games," and they were surprisingly kind to him. They enjoyed his commentary, which I thought was nice.
He's a good, he does soccer games as well. I think he's done some college football. He's good at this. And I talked to him about it once, and he actually, all these guys do this sort of stuff. But then when you really realize how much work they put into learning things about teams before games, it's just impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. He was great again tonight. So I was happy to, no yelling at the refs tonight for him, which he has been doing a lot on Mavs TV, which has been nice. I enjoy it, but
sure,
it's fun. The thing I want to talk about from the game, I noticed several kick out threes that actually went in, which I have not seen for most of the season so far. That was like a Luka special last year, but with Luka coming in looking hobbled and a little slower, and the shooting being so cold to start the season, it was nice to see. When the ball was going to Grimes in the corner, or when it goes to Naji in the corner, I'm not worried that they're going to just absolutely brick it, which has been a nice turnaround.
The shooting from the corners, I saw something maybe 4 games ago, and this is, let's just say, the first 15 games of the season. The shooting for the Mavericks from the corners was abysmal, where PJ Washington at one point was shooting 6% from corners, which is just, it's like, how?
That's like my percentage, probably.
A blind person could hit more than that. It's impressive. So it is nice to see it go back, because Spencer was actually really good at getting some open looks for guys because he was doing kind of the Luka thing where he's getting within about 6 feet of the basket and then just rifling to somebody in the corner. And obviously that's a big part of the Mavericks games. Team try to take that away, but I would love to see, because it's just, basketball sounds stupid, but it's a geometry game in a lot of respects. And so they've had avenues closed off to them with how they played early in the season. And if guys start making a few more shots, it's just going to open things up.
Yep. Quinn Grimes revenge game. That was sick. Love that.
Great.
Loved a couple the one where he got fouled in the corner and he was turning around talking to the Knicks bench. That was fun. I like that a lot.
More of that.
Yeah, I would like more of that. And then finally, to end it, there's no way Kyrie's playing both Saturday and Sunday, right?
I don't know. That's a
feel
great
like
question.
There's no way he's playing both.
Who do they play next?
I believe they play the Jazz and Portland.
Okay. So that's an interesting call, is what I'll say. Yeah. Who do you I would bet you're probably right, is the answer.
I think it just depends on if Luka is back.
Yes.
I feel like maybe you sit him the first night of the back-to-back.
And who knows? With 2 days off, he may feel better. Yeah, because I think a lot of these guys have say over whether they play to a certain respect. So.
I think it's the gray hair. The gray hair tells me he's not sitting. He's not going to play both of them.
That's right.
But anyway, appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I really appreciate you joining the show.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. All right. Talk soon. Have a good one. All right. I got to do an ad read, and then I'm going to bring up our next guest. So, guys, I've babbled about this in previous shows. I'm going to do it again. I would love it if you would click the link in the show. It's a link to a company called Body Spec. They're our new sponsor. They provide a DEXA scan. It's a full body composition scan, which gives you a ton of information, usable information about where you are in your sort of fitness or health journey, however you want to think about it. They're really inexpensive, and using the code, all caps PODMAVS45 at checkout will give you an additional $15 off. These body scans are over $150 for most places that do them, and I will just simply say that it's not $150. You will kind of giggle at the cost when you know what the comparison is. They're a great gift idea. They're a great way to start a New Year's resolution, and if you're interested in actually supporting our show, this sort of thing does help. It really, really does if you were to sign up and get one. And plus, look, this is a fan-based show. We should all want the best for one another, and I want you guys to stay healthy as well. Okay, coming up next, let's see here. My man with a very long handle name, and he's sitting in a dark room. Mr. Slang, what's going on?
It's 5:30 or 6 a.m. in Germany.
Holy shit. So you've been up for what, 3 hours watching basketball, or did you only catch part of the game?
Of course. I think I've watched every Mavericks game for 28 years or something.
So you're just living an alternative life where you're kind of up at all hours of the day. That's heroic.
Can't miss the game, but sometimes I catch it the next day, and
you're my hero. That's the kind of hardcore fan that this show absolutely supports. So what's going on? What'd you think?
No, Kirk, you're my hero. Come on. I have a question. I can't remember, even though I've watched all the games.
Sure.
Has Luka and Brunson played each other yet?
Yeah. So do you remember the ridiculous 60-point triple-double?
That was a Christmas game, yeah?
It was right around there. It wasn't Christmas itself, but it was around the holidays. Mm-hmm. And it was the last time Luka was happy that year, because right after that game was when the Mavericks absolutely fell apart at the seams, because they traded for Kyrie at the beginning of February. But
yeah, that's right.
Between those 2 points, things were dark. Oh, Jared says Brunson was out for the 60-10-20 game. Okay, that might have.
I have a feeling they haven't played each other yet. It's so weird.
There's only get 2 chances. They had 2 chances that year. 2 chances last year. I don't know.
It's so crazy to think that. But yeah, I mean, in the first quarter of this game, the Mavericks just clamped and suffocated the Knicks. I was wondering, I was like, are the Knicks just playing shitty? But really, the defense was stifling. Crazy.
It was, and sometimes shots just don't go down. But at one point, the score was like 18-6, and it was almost uncomfortable with what was going on with the two teams playing against each other. And the Knicks eventually kind of shook themselves out of it, but there were no easy baskets for the from the Knicks for the first 20-ish minutes of the game. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Luke,
and this
Luke
was
confirms
reminiscent.
Luke confirms your thought. They have not played each other yet.
Crazy.
So great insight. I'm glad you noticed this.
It's so crazy to think about because they also, it's like, did they show today in the broadcast like pictures of the draft night with Luka or like the first press conference with their jerseys or something? And it made me be like, man, they haven't fucking faced off. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to say was that, well, first off, I like contrary to popular opinion, I like this court.
Okay.
I like it.
I do too. I like the uniforms as well.
Yeah, they're classy. They're not anything super special, but sometimes no news is good news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
no
stuff,
news
man.
is good news because we don't need more shitty, like fake graffiti design jerseys.
Nice.
And the last thing was that every season, I think of Luka's entire career, he has had a stint in the season where he'll sit for a few games, and every time the team comes together without him, then he comes back in and he finds a way to fit in to what happened when he was gone. And I think this always builds the team chemistry. So my hot take is that this is what's happening now. And he's going to come back in, be a team guy, and then he'll go to, like monolithic Luka when the time is needed. And I think this is going to be cool. And also, I think that the narrative of Luka, the team being better without Luka and all this kind of stuff is so tired. So I think people who have this narrative don't have a lot going on in their brain and need to focus on this because I read it and I think it's so stupid. Do you watch basketball or do you just like to read yourself typing?
It's the one thing I remind people, particularly when it comes to like Twitter. I've said this before, but it's worth saying again. Like 5 to 10% of Twitter users make up 90% of the content. So it's like sometimes the loudest voices can dominate a conversation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they reflect like fan sentiment, which I would say in this case, they certainly do not reflect fan sentiment. So
anybody who likes to watch basketball likes Luka Doncic. If you don't like, well, that's not true because I'm sure Clippers fans don't love
and I could see where like I don't like it when Luka takes 18-second possessions. I don't like that either. It's when he's playing real well, it's kind of hard to argue against what he's doing.
Yeah, but it's also like the kind of thing where the teams that he's done this on, he's needed to be that dude. So,
I think that's true.
So when the times get tight, motherfuckers look at the ball and they're like, no, don't give it to me. And he wants the ball. So you want that. That's the one reason I kind of am liking Jaden Hardy this season. Because at least he wants it, even if he makes some fucking super frustrating turnovers where I'm just like, oh my God. But you have to learn somehow.
Sure.
On the court. Yeah. Okay, I'll let you go. Let you have some more people up. Nice to talk with you. The reason I haven't called in is because it's fucking so late.
Oh, I get it. I mean, look, we got you from Germany tonight. We got Mr. Green down there in Australia, and we have Sudar Shan from India. So we're just hitting the goal here at some point is to hit every possible time zone. Like that would be fun. So, all right, man, we'll talk soon.
Nice to see you, Kirk. Peace.
You as well. All right, coming up next, my man Leo. What's going on, Leo?
Hello. The mic's line okay?
There you go.
All right. Well, to go off on a little bit different conversation, what did you think of Maxi's play tonight?
He grabbed one rebound that made me go, "Great rebound, Maxey." Maxey is the sort of player where if I don't notice him, that's probably for the best. Because when he's doing something, it's one of two extremes. He's either really awesome or he's pissing me off beyond known belief. There's really no middle ground. I was doing something and missed one of his, I think it was like a roll to the hoop where he got fouled. So I think by and large, my understanding of at least of Maxey's game tonight is he did good job, Maxey.
I was asking dude to like, I don't remember if you remember in 22, but all we had was the micro ball lineup. And then last year, all we had because Maxey got hurt in the Clippers series was big lineup. But if we have the ability to have both micro ball, regular ball, and big ball lineups this year, it just seems really nice to see Maxey have a good game or see how PJ and Naji work out offensively and defensively.
I love it.
Moving forward.
That's my answer is I love it. More of it. I want the Mavericks to put Maxey in positions where he can succeed. And I think they have a pretty good understanding of his limitations and his strengths. And the fact is, since he detached his hamstring or whatever the shit crazy injury he did, I've liked the way he's looked.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Talk soon. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right. Coming up next, everybody's favorite show joiner, Mr. Green. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Kirk. How are you, bud?
I'm good. What are we thinking today?
I'm glad your negativity from the other day show didn't rub off on my Dallas Mavericks.
Nope. They turned it around.
We didn't get our ass kicked. Mate, I can't believe how well they played, considering that's a sick team.
The Knicks are good.
Can you imagine how many boxes of tissues? Can you imagine how many boxes of tissues are getting used in that bloody in that change room?
Something, man. I wonder what we're never gonna know, but I wonder how what the guys picked up, because the fact that 6 of them are sick, it's really gross.
Yeah, and I was sort of a little bit worried when Big Dan wasn't going to roll up today.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need him.
Nope.
Him. I mean, I don't think Lively had a massively impactful game. In fact, until Kyrie threw him that last lob, I thought to myself, gee, I wonder if, I wonder how many points Lively's going to total at the end of this game, because he just didn't seem to be. Well, I think the Knicks were very aware that, they need to take that out, and then they've got more of a chance and forces to the perimeter. But, man, Dinwiddie cooked tonight. Naji's knife is super sharp. He must be sleeping on a sharpening stone, old Naj. He played fantastic. Grimes had a great game. Dinwiddie, like I said, man, the thing I love about Dinwiddie, he's just long. He's not stupid, and he seems to be playing within himself. And, yeah, he did get a few hand grenades, and I've seen his press conference in that Miami game. I watched it yesterday, and he goes, I did get chucked a few hand grenades. But, man, he's playing really well this season. And they did sort of say that they wanted him in case Luka was out. But, man, we're rolling. We're rolling,
nice.
Kirk.
It's nice.
It is nice.
I'm very pleased with the performance tonight, and to the point of being shocked to where I didn't know what Josh Bowe and I were going to talk about. Then we ended up talking for 45 minutes just because there's so many little fun things to sort of hit on. And yeah, this is a as satisfying a win as I think the Mavericks have had this season. Maybe the Nuggets game is up there, but this one just hit home for me in a way that I'm having a hard time describing as to why.
So I do have a question that I'd like to hear about. Right?
Sure.
I have a little bit of a worry in regards to the how the roster's constructed.
Okay.
In one position particularly, I think we're going to do a trade before the deadline.
They have for 7 straight seasons.
Yeah, and look, I think, I think the way Nico's brain works is that he loves being good, but he's never satisfied. It sounds like he's got full reign now. Sounds like Cuban's not even getting text messages. He's been kicked out of the group chat, I don't think he'll sit on his hands, but if you had to make an educated decision, who do you think might leave the roster before the end of the year?
I have no idea. I think Maxi's probably the only person I could think of that doesn't really fit. Maxi fits just fine, but he's like the only person that sort of crosses just like check boxes of guys with a big enough salary who could work on a different team, who might be interesting to another team. I don't even know if they can trade. Can they trade Quentin Grimes?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that they can.
I just don't want to. Yeah, Grimes is on expiring. It's like who last year's team, it was like it's pretty obvious to anybody that had eyes and that had watched the team for a while that Josh Green was an NBA player, but he wasn't the guy that was going to elevate them to the next step. And I just I look at these guys and I'm like, who around in this particular roster is not living up to their role or their pedigree? I mean, I guess Gafford is somebody who I think they could maybe look to move, but not yet. And I don't want them to, because for what we talked about earlier, like Lively is just still too goofy.
And he just gets injured too much. He misses too many games. Look, I don't think they'll get rid of Gafford. I think they need someone around 6'10" to 7 foot who can shoot. And
sure. Like an actual stretch four instead of Maxi, who just makes you hold your breath.
Well, they're not going to get rid of Maxi. I don't think Maxi has enough value for anyone to be interested to do a deal and put a proposal on the table to get Maxi. So I can't see any team clamoring for him. And I think they want his defense for the playoffs. As a spot defender, incredible weak side spot defender, especially with Lively on the floor. And on the floor, he's exceptional. But I think that Omax is probably going to get the ass. I think Hardy will probably get the ass, but I think it's going to be for someone like an Alec Burks. I think we're going to get a 32 to 34-year-old tall, slender shooter and get rid of some of the youth that's not working, because when are you going to find minutes to play these guys? Hardy's he's so inconsistent. Like I love when he's on fire, but man, he's really hard to watch. And I was pretty high on him for the first 2 seasons, but going into season 3, man, it's getting tiring watching him really struggle. It's almost like it's matchup dependent, but when he can't take advantage of this Knicks roster, I told you this Knicks team's a weird team, man. It really is. It feels so out of balance, but they're desperate for Mitchell Robinson, and even Precious Achiuwa. He would make such a big difference. But someone like, look, I've been high on Duop Reef, man, mainly because he's another Aussie. We should be able to get a guy like that. And
he's an interesting one because he's so physical and so raw in certain elements, and it's just like they have 4 centers on that team. I think because they got DeAndre. They have Reith. They have Robert Williams, and do they have one more guy? Maybe I could be wrong, but that's like 3 legitimate centers.
No, the dude they just drafted.
Oh, duh. Yes, and he's he should be getting all the minutes.
He's the best center. He's the best center on their team. So they don't really need a lot of guards, though, do they? But see, I reckon Omax is a carrot. I just can't see him. If they're not going to play him, man, they just got to move him on.
I just don't know if you can, because he doesn't make enough money. But like for a team like that, would they be interested in swapping a prospective wing just because they have the bid? That's an interesting idea. I still don't think you'd actually be able to get anything for him, because I think everybody thinks he stinks too. But that's an interesting one. See, JB in the chat says, "Give me Maxi, Omax, Hardy, and Gafford for Jonathan Isaac." And like Isaac is just such a terrifying injury risk. Even though, I do love watching him blot out the sun when he plays defense, but I don't think he's played 10 games in a row, but more than once since 2017. So it's just that's too much. But I see where you're coming from. It's an interesting thought exercise. And as the Mavericks get closer to 40 games, it gets more relevant because teams just don't move anybody until February.
I need to see Kid play Omax. I need to see if Omax, like, he has been absolutely shocking. He's been one of the worst players I've ever seen put on a Mavericks jersey. He really is that bad. But if you, he really is, Kirk. Like, I have seen him do absolutely fuck all. He is atrocious. And the thing is, he is the right height. He's the right length. He's not athletic. He gets fucking blocked by the rim. But we need to play him to see if he has any value. It's the old adage, you know. I've got a funny feeling they're playing Dinwiddie to find out if he's going to be the one to get moved again, which I'd feel sorry for him because he'd probably miss out on another good playoff run.
Yeah.
But they've got to find another power forward. They really do, because, you know, we're only one twisted ankle away. I mean, look how impactful PJ's been. We won 5 of the last 6 he's been in the lineup and lost all the games he was out. I don't need PJ rolling his ankle, missing, 6 or 7 games, because then the lineups get really crazy. And yeah, like I said, man, I don't think Omax is an NBA player's arsehole, to be perfectly honest with you. But
I get it.
Until Kid plays him, how are we ever going to know? We'll know, man. Like, last year was his rookie season. He's in his second year, man. If you can't give the dude minutes, if I was Kid, I'd be telling Nico, get this guy off the roster and give me someone who can give me 6 or 7 minutes. So, but happy again, mate. I did ask the Raven if he could keep it down today.
Very funny. Did you go back? If you haven't gone back and heard it, go listen, like drop off this, go to YouTube and click on it and just listen. It's very funny. And I got it didn't bother me one tick, but it's one of those things where you never know what a mic is going to pick up. I always worry about that with my dog. And it was great. Great stuff.
Actually, my dogs have been really quiet today, which is impressive.
Hey, well, you have a good day and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving, Kirk.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
See you, mate.
All right. Coming up next is Mavs Moneyball contributor and another time zone hit. Sudarshan, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, morning. It's been a long morning, but a successful one.
Good. Did you watch most of this game?
Oh, yeah. No, I was up at 3 because of jet lag, but yeah.
Yeah. You just got back from a long trip, and are you in school again?
No. So I mean, it's not like I'm in school. I teach part-time. So
I can never, dude. You've told me this, and my brain is mashed potatoes by this point. So it's And so, what did you think? Let's tell me about the game.
No, it's fun because I hate the Knicks more than any other team, more than the Lakers. So it's always satisfying to see them win. But also the manner of the victory was good. So that was the most impressive part about it. It's like I think someone in the Slack said that we'll see in the second half whether they actually learned anything from the Denver game, where they absolutely shat the bed in the second half, and they didn't. They were comfortably ahead despite playing 5-on-8, which is fantastic.
Sure. See, I didn't think the reffing was very bad. I think the Mavericks foul a lot, and I think that's built into their plan. I mean, outside of Lively's fouling is driving me nuts. Like, he does it like it. At least 2 of his fouls every game are like, bro, what are you doing?
No, that I agree. That I think he's really experiencing a sophomore kind of regression from where he was last season. But I mean, in terms of the calls, it wasn't that they were egregiously bad. It's just that they were overwhelmingly in favor of the Knicks, particularly like some of the Brunson calls. But he always gets those. So
yeah, always.
Yeah, so I'm sure if it was a closer game, this would be more of a talking point. But the fact that they completely pants them for more or less 48 minutes was enjoyable.
That's right.
And, I mean, just building off of that, is the Karl Anthony Towns trade the rare occasion of a lose-lose trade for all the teams involved.
I mean, I think the Knicks had to get off of Randall. Like I don't like Towns largely because I think if he tweaks like two things, he could be way better. And Randall, though, has been this guy since always. He's never going to be able to play differently. Like Towns, I think there's just a mental element to Towns' game that works against him where you can see like he finally starts hitting threes when they're down 20. It's like when the pressure's off, he just doesn't react well to pressure is my opinion. But I still think like their pick and roll combo, meaning Towns and Brunson, is unreal.
It's lethal, which is why I thought putting PJ on Brunson to start and then switching him onto Towns and being able to add, like, not even adequately, like successfully just completely erase that game was fantastic to start off with. I think they fooled around with it a little bit more in the second half, but it's the thing with Towns is while he calls himself the greatest shooting big man of all time or whatever it is that he doesn't have one aspect of his game that he can settle down into and then just sort of build on when he's having a crap night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, say what you will about Dirk. It's like, okay, he's having a crap shooting night, but he'll get down into the post. He'll have his fadeaways. He'll score off all of those things. And he might be like 10 of 25 or something like that, but he'll have 25, 26 points quite easily.
Well, there was the block that so Lively blocks a reverse layup from him in the first quarter, and he gets up and he's like, fouled, and he wasn't fouled, and then goes down the court and proceeds to commit a foul. And he's the kind of player who compounds mistakes that is painful to watch. And Luka's kind of the only guy on the Mavericks who does anything like that.
Which is what I think everyone's been sort of frustrated with Luka more than anyone. That the fact that we have to deal with all of this shit when we completely give shit to other players on other teams who pull this kind of stuff. But also, I mean, just have to give Dinwiddie his props. I know I was one of the, along with you, I think I was one of the heavy anti-Dinwiddie players after the Heat game. But I mean, he's played well the past two games. It's been refreshing to watch. So it's a fun thing. And after the crappy start, we're still one game out of fourth place.
Wild.
Like Memphis is 12-7, and we have Portland, Utah, and then Memphis on Tuesday next week. We win all three of those games, and we're again a top 4 team with extended games in the NBA Cup. So okay. I mean, things are looking good.
We're gonna have to have Tyler on to talk about the NBA Cup because the Mavericks are going to the NBA Cup. I don't really want to even talk about it now because I'm tired, but they're gonna be playing basketball. So if you look at the Mavericks schedule and you're like, why are there no games between December 7th and like December 21st or something like that? It's because of the NBA Cup, and they will be playing in that. So
I'll take it if Luka gets back in shape because of those extra games.
So, what if my kind of thought I've been sitting on is like, what if these first 15 games have been his preseason? And then the NBA Cup is kind of his start to the regular season. So
that'll be fantastic. Anyway.
Thanks for getting us going. Yep. Talk soon, man.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, guys. This has been a great show. Guests from all around the world. That's pretty fun. We will be back when will we be back? Obviously Saturday, but I'm going to post something. I'll post this podcast probably sometime around noon, and then maybe right around the Cowboys game, I've got something I need to throw up into the timeline. An old show that I had Josh dig up that I've basically it's he and I. Well, me. I was really drunk 2018 when the Mavericks traded for Luka in the lottery that night, or not the lottery, the NBA draft. And I'm going to post that show again just because it's fun to listen to, 7 years later. All right, guys, great time. Great night. Everybody be good. Have a good holiday if you're celebrating here in the United States. Everyone else, have a great rest of your week, and we will talk soon. Go Mavs.